It is heating up in Phoenix as Suns trade reports are escalating. As we got a new report from Hoops Hype insider Michael A. Scotto that could lean the way of Matt Ishbia and James Jones to move off a specific role player on this team to better this roster as they already have some of those players filling in a specific role. But could the Suns look to possibly move off some other possible pieces that maybe aren't fitting into Mike Budenholzer's offense or could gain the Suns some more trade value? We'll be discussing all of that and more on this episode of Suns Digest. I'm Bruce Veliz, and like I said, you guys have been absolutely fantastic at showing your love and support for the channel. We're really, really appreciative. So if you want to make sure you stay up to date on everything revolving around this Suns team, make sure to hit that like button. Without further ado, let's dive into the topic at hand. Make sure to grab a snack. And like I said in the introduction, this is absolutely wild, and we're going to dive into all of this news. As we all know, this Suns team has been a very solid roster so far this season when healthy. Obviously, with some injuries to Durant and Bradley Beal, it has put this team on a little bit of a skid, but they've been able to bounce back effectively, winning their last 2 of 3, losing one of those to the Nets, and they're gearing up to take on the Suns tonight in their final NBA Cup game. Now, the Suns obviously are still wanting to maintain a top seed in the West and fell down a little bit due to those injuries, but are starting to moment a comeback and have been having some key role players and also starters really step up for this squad. So Michael A. Scotto, courtesy of Hoopsec, went in and surveyed the league and kind of went over some trade candidates, and he brought up one for the Phoenix Suns. So we're going to dive in and look at the possibility of this happening and how likely it is going to happen. So if we want to dive in and look at who was announced, as you guys can tell, probably from the thumbnail and from the title, it was Josh Okogie. And Josh Okogie played a pretty vital role for the Suns this season. But Michael A. Scotto had this to say about Okogie. Phoenix also re-signed Josh Okogie for some rotational depth, but also to dangle his contract as a tradable asset. League sources told Hoopsite the Suns are paying Josh Okogie $8.25 million this season and his $7.5 million salary for the 25-26 season is non-guaranteed. With their payroll well above the second apron, the Suns have limited roster flexibility and would likely have to rely on their stars to stay healthy to carry the load. So I'm looking at some of these possible rotational pieces that could be thrown into some trades. It could help the Suns get some nice needed upgrades around the edges to help perfect this championship contender that the Suns have realistically built so far this season. And we want to look at an article here as well, kind of going in on all of that, courtesy of myself over on Last Word. If you want to read some of my Suns stuff, go and check it out. But I broke down an article talking about this new Suns trade piece being revealed. Like I said, Michael A. Scotto from Hoopsite said that the Suns could chip away their defensive presence off the bench, which has been solid for a Suns team. And like I mentioned, Okogie has come up big for the Suns in some big moments. Versus the Sacramento Kings, a game where he was really thrown into the limelight for this Suns team. He had his best offensive performance where he netted a season high, a career high in offensive rebounds, and got a season high total in points in 25. And Okogie kept up that play for when players like Durant and Beal were out. And even when Durant and Beal have come back, he has still been able to flourish with this team, and he has looked pretty solid. Like I mentioned, Okogie is on a 2-year, $60 million deal this season, where he's getting $8.25 million this year, and next year he's making $7.75 million, in which it is non-guaranteed. This means that if a team were to trade for Okogie, they could waive Josh Okogie off their roster and have no issues and no problems with having to pay him that $7.75 million, which could lead for a lot of teams to be interested in trading for a player in Josh Okogie, even if it is for a rental this season. Now, for the Suns, if they are going to look at some trades and look to move off of some people, they do have some trade restrictions, being a second apron team, and this is something that needs to be said and screamed from the rooftops, because not only in my comment section, not only in other Suns content creators YouTube sections, but all over social media, I have seen Suns fans trying to make trades for this team, and half of them aren't even possible with the new CBA. So if you're a person that is looking to make Suns trades, or if you're someone that is cooking them up on the internet and you're watching this video, you need to take these two rules into consideration when making these trades. I don't care if SpotTrack or Fanspo or the NBA app lets you make these trades go through. If these restrictions are going to happen with the Suns in performing these fake trades, you can already chop it up, because it can not happen. And one of those was being that the Suns cannot aggregate salaries. That means the Suns cannot combine salaries. They cannot trade a player like Josh Okogie and Jusuf Nurkic, combine those two players and go and get Nikola Vucevic. That is impossible. Cannot happen. The Suns, though, can trade one player like Jusuf Nurkic, making his $18 million, and get two players back, making $10 and $6 million. But the Suns cannot take two contracts that are two smaller ones, combine it, and go get a bigger contract. That is not possible. And if the Suns are to do a trade, regardless, with any player on the roster, the player that they send out the player that they're receiving has to be cheaper or the exact value as the player that they send out. So for this example, if the Suns were to trade Josh Okogie, the Suns would have to be able to take back a player that makes either equal to $8.25 million to the exact dollar amount or less. It cannot be 8.26, cannot be 8.37, can't be 8.5, can't be 9, can't be $10 million. It has to be less than 8.25, which leaves the Suns in a little bit of a tricky situation. Josh Okogie making $8.25 million is solid, and for the role that he's been playing for the Suns, if we want to look at his stats, is been effective. 8.5 points, 4 rebounds, 53% from the field, 52% from three, and is really having his best offensive season so far with the Suns. We've known Okogie can be a defensive presence, can be a really solid guard/wing combination, playing that defensive on the edges there and guarding in the paint. But with his ability to showcase his offensive side of the basketball, where his three-point shot is actually looking consistent in this Mike Budenholzer's offense, it has turned on the eyes of other teams around the league, but also the Suns, to maybe say, hey, trading a player like Josh Okogie at this peak value could get us said role player and could set us up for the future. The Suns already have an abundance of players in that similar role, guys like Royce O'Neal, Ryan Dunn, Grayson Allen, and Josh Okogie. So ultimately, I do believe they will look to move off of one of those players, if not multiple of those players, at the trade deadline to really upgrade in that front court position or help out in some other areas of need. But it will come down to James Jones, Matt Ishbia, and ultimately what they decide to see. Was trading a player in Josh Okogie worth it? Is it worth moving off an $8 million contract to get another role player that can play a similar role? Or would you rather keep Josh Okogie because he's on a cheaper contract and look to trade someone who's on a little bit more of an expensive contract? Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. What are your guys' thoughts on Josh Okogie, and do you think he possibly could get traded? Like I said, personally, if I were the Suns GM at this very moment, I would not trade Josh Okogie. I think Josh Okogie plays a valuable role as a defender. And even though Ryan Dunn has showed that promise on the defensive side, same thing with Royce O'Neal, I do believe that Josh Okogie's offensive game this season has been true and can stay consistent if the Suns keep Budenholzer as their coach. So having him, Royce O'Neal, and having a player in Ryan Dunn in that system, I think could be key. And possibly moving off another player could be the direction the Suns look at. If we want to look, like I said, at the Suns' salary cap with this team so far, like I mentioned, Okogie making $8 million, but lots more people on this team making some more money that have just gotten some extensions. Guys like Grayson Allen, Royce O'Neal, and Jusuf Nurkic, who I think could all be on the trade market at this point and could be gauged out as well. Grayson not having the greatest shooting start to the season, playing a new role. Nurkic not being that starting center that the Suns expected to see. I'd rather see the Suns look in that direction and choose to move off of one of those players than moving off a player in Okogie. But if Okogie has the value of teams really want him at that $8 million and the Suns can get a bang for their buck, I say go out and do it. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section, how you guys ultimately truly feel about this team. Like I said, I wouldn't trade Okogie if it was my first choice, but if it's the only choice the Suns have to make a move to upgrade this roster, then I say go out and do it. But like I said, you guys have been absolutely fantastic. Thank you for showing your love and support on the channel. If you guys are a part of the 78% who watch our videos and still aren't subscribed and you do enjoy the content, you're at this point of the video, what are you guys doing? Make sure to hit the subscribe button to help us out over on Suns Digest. So we try to get to our goal of 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Like I said, you guys have been absolutely fantastic. Thank you guys so much for showing your love and support. And we'll catch you guys in the next video. Have a great rest of your day and go Phoenix Suns. Peace out, y'all.